So how does my voice sound through this? Just checking real quick. So how does my voice sound through this? Just checking real quick. What is up, everybody? QOL'S here, and we have probably the biggest content update that I've covered in Raid. And well, we got a new video. I might be a few days behind, but we had to take time to prep for all of these updates. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? QOL'S here again, and we have what is probably the biggest update that I've ever covered in Raid, at least in the last couple of years. And let's get into it.
It's the Big Ten. This time, we've got an exclusive look at new champions coming to the Argonauts faction.
Speaking of the Argonauts faction, what are y'all thinking of Cassandra? I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's great. I feel like she has her use case in the game, but I don't really feel like she's top tier anywhere in the game. So I guess I would call her just a mid, like a 7 out of 10 champion, like slightly above average, but nothing great. What do y'all think?
As well as a different spin on the Coalition event and several important quality of life updates.
So are we going to be getting a new land boss update? I don't think they've touched Demon Lord in years.
Let's dive into it. Raid will celebrate its 7th anniversary this year. Can you believe it? And this year's theme puts our newest faction right at the forefront. As part of the celebrations, you can expect the Bastion to be decked out in resplendent marble architecture and
That looks cool. I always like it when they update the Bastion. By the way, it does not feel like it's been 7 years.
plenty of awesome events for you to get involved in. The Argolades is a massive archipelago in the southwestern seas, home to the Argonauts. Inspired by a timeless aesthetic, these mighty warriors.
So this looks like it's going to be a new champion. We don't have a name or any skill sets, but she looks pretty cool. I mean, she's not like the craziest art design I've ever seen, but, should probably not a void legendary, probably just a standard legendary. And I would assume with that spear, she's going to be hopefully an HP or a defensive nuker because she's got that big old shield. Just going ahead and throwing out my predictions. I'd say a legendary, force affinity, defense nuker. And probably going to bring a big shield buff to your party.
Body ancient myths and legends. Expect mortal heroes in search of fame.
Let's go back to that last guy.
Players embody ancient myths and legends.
I bet he's going to be a rare champion. Maybe even an uncommon, but they don't really do uncommons anymore. But if not uncommon, he's going to be a rare champion. And judging by his weapon, he's probably going to be a squishy nuker. Probably, what do y'all think? Force or magic?
Expect mortal heroes in search of fame.
And here we have another champion. Now this may even be a void legendary, just because he has that godly aesthetic. And I'm going to say he's probably a CC champ. Probably going to put out a lot of buffs and some CC on the enemy team. Probably not fear. Maybe stun. Yeah, we're going to go with a CC stun champion, void legendary.
Powerful individuals who have become unwitting idols of worship on distance.
This guy, he has an epic vibe to him. I doubt he's going to be a legendary. I'm going to say a HP epic nuker. And he'll probably self-buff.
Denials. And
oh, she's got a cool design. I'm kind of torn if she's going to be epic or legendary, though. Since they gave her the unique skin design, she very well could be legendary. And I like that she has like mermaid scales. Her weapon, so she's probably going to be an elemental. Let's go with the magic because the blue affinity would match her skin color. And she also is probably going to be a defensive support champion.
Everyone in between. Keep an eye out on.
Now, this guy, he looks like he's going to hit like a Mack truck. We're going to put him in Force Affinity, and we're going to call him an arena champion. I'm just going to go ahead and predict he is a Force Affinity legendary arena neuter.
Our news and social media.
And I bet he brings some self buffs that makes him like unkillable or block damage. Now, this guy here, another legendary. He not, I don't want to say void legendary, but the particle effects are there. Like they definitely put enough effort into his design that he could possibly be a void legendary. But if not, we're going to lean into Magic Affinity legendary champion that is a HP support / damage hybrid.
Feel more about the Argonites and the 7th anniversary event when the time comes.
Now, this looks like the fusion. I can't quite tell. We'll get a better look at him in a minute. If he's not the fusion, because I don't remember his axe having the fire on it, but this is going to be a force damage dealer that is probably going to put people to sleep. Or he could bring Stone Skin because he's got the Medusa shield and Medusa turns champions into stone. So we're going to go with brings his own Stone Skin and crowd controls the enemy team.
Next up, we've got a new twist.
He might even ignore Stone Skin because if he can turn people to stone, he would have that affinity advantage. Coalition Event World Boss. I love the Coalition events that they do in Raid.
Coming to the Coalition event. In an upcoming first of its kind Coalition event, you'll be facing off against a much tougher variant of the Demon Lord.
Oh, dude, they haven't touched the Demon Lord in years. I cannot wait.
You won't be beholden to keys or energy to take it on. Battles will get progressively more.
What do we got here? You can use any champion without restrictions. Every 5 points equals 10 mil of damage. Over 70.28 mil damage. Okay. You can use any champions without restrictions. And 5 points for each 10 mil of damage over 70.28. So what's the difference? I'm not really seeing a difference between the first condition and second condition. But then you see over here, it looks like you can only use legendary and uncommon champions from the Banner Lords. And I forget what that faction is right there. Let's see what that faction is real quick. Okay. So it is the High Elves faction. So we're only able to use Force Magic defense champions from the Bannerlord and High Elf faction. And they can only be legendary and uncommon. You earn 5 points per 10 mil damage, dealt over 70.28 damage. What can we even use from the Bannerlords and High Elf? Like, as far as legendaries go, they have to be magic and they have to be defense champions and they can be force. So we have Helior. But what does he bring that would be good for Demon Lord? I mean, I guess a shield. And whenever an ally has 2 or more debuffs, his champion absorbs 30% of the damage with your own ally. That probably won't happen in Demon Lord because he's not going to be placing debuffs most likely. Who else is even defense in the Banner Lords? So basically, you've got Helior, That's it out of the legendaries that I'm seeing. So he brings a shield. What about an uncommon? I cannot believe we're sitting here doing this. You could bring in Frontline Warrior to put an ally protection out. Fireblade's probably going to be your damage dealer because if I'm not mistaken, she's the only one that can put out like enemy max HP top damage. And she could technically place 2.5% poisons. So it's kind of all you're stuck with there. Squire, I don't think he brings anything. Yeah, a 25% decreased attack, but that's hit or miss. You just put on good gear and not worry about the attack. I'm going to say we're going to bring in Commander to fill the turn meter of an ally that's fully healed to try to get Fireblade back around to her A2 quicker. Dude, I cannot believe we're doing this. World Bearer can bring an increased defense on everybody. And that's it. So we're going to do Helior frontline, Helior for a shield, frontline warrior for, oh, and it can only be, dude, can we even use any of these champions? You can use Squire, which is the 25% decreased attack. So we got Helior, we got Squire. Let's see who we get from the High Elves. That's magic defense. You have Oslin. Now, Oslin, she can keep the people alive. She brings ally protection, the increased defense, puts a counterattack on herself, and then puts a shield on the champion for 2 turns. The shield is proportional to the champion's defense. He also can place a 30% decreased speed out, and the provoke won't matter. But regardless, he'll help keep the people alive. So yeah, don't even worry about the uncommons. Not like we really would anyways. But bring in Oslin for the ally protection and increased defense. Bring in Helior for the shield. What else do we get? Magic or force defense. The Incarnate. She'll bring a strengthen. So it's looking like, as far as keeping your team alive, it's not going to be that hard. But that's really all she's going to do is bring. She don't even revive unless Arbiter's on the team, does she? No. But she is going to bring strengthen, which will be useful. So we're going to get ally protection, a shield, increased defense, strengthen. We need a form of damage. Where is the damage going to come from? If you have Tatura, you don't really need block debuffs. But if you are getting debuffed, I guess you could use him for a decreased accuracy, but I don't really see that being useful. Dude, this is crazy. All I'm seeing is Incarnate, Oslin. Now you can't bring Couture because he's Spirit Affinity anyways. What about in the uncommons? Well, not much. Definitely not on Jaeger. What's Aristocrat do? Well, she's attack though. Dude, there's only like 5 or 6 champions that I'm seeing that you can even use, and none of them are going to bring damage. I mean, Helior is probably going to be your best damage. But I'm only seeing like 7 or 8 champions that we can even use. This is going to be crazy, man. I'm excited to see what plays out here. All right, let's get on with the video. Oh, and if you notice, it shows best damage 59 mil as compared to 110 mil. So, like, they know the damage ain't there. If that doesn't even hit, how are they even getting any points? It says 5 points per 10 mil damage over 70.28. But they've only gotten 55.99 as their best damage. So, are they, is Plarium even able to pull this off?
More difficult as special conditions come into play, and you'll need a well-rounded roster of champions to complete various challenges.
Here we have Legendary, Epic, Force, Magic, Defense, and Support from, looks like, Lizardmen, Spider Faction, Sacred Order, and Overns, maybe. That one, at least you have some damage dealers, and you've got Theodore for some good poisons, Lady Mikage for the ally attacking buffs. Trunda probably be a show star there. Same with Turbo there. He'll single target nuke. Manaya could be a good one. I'm thinking out of this squad, we're gonna run Mikage, Drexstar for burns, Theodore for poisons, Mithrala maybe for some extra poisons, but shield, cleanse, strengthen, stuff like that. And then for the nuker, either Turvold or Trunda. There's also Venus that you could use. And I mean, I don't really know if Nas would be useful here. Maybe to keep your team alive because he brings that block damage and he'll go into his second form and revive people, but he's not killing anybody to get a revive, so no, not really. Still, the Drakes may actually come back and make a performance here. I don't really know Deliana making any use. Georgia could just be damage. It's going to be rough, guys. It's going to be real interesting.
Reaching specific damage milestones in each battle will earn you points, and you'll get extra points if you rack up enough damage to exceed the final milestone. The more points you earn, the better your personal score, and the better the rewards you'll get. Don't worry though, Coalition rewards aren't going anywhere. As the entire community reaches new milestones by taking on this demonic behemoth, everyone will unlock even more goodies too.
Wait, so does that mean it's permanent? Or does that just mean you get it until you complete it and it's gone? But are there going to be reoccurring rewards? They made it sound like it's going to be permanent. If it's permanent, it'd just entirely get rid of the old Demon Lord. I mean, I guess people would still probably use it to get legendary books, sacred shards, stuff like that. But this could replace Demon Lord, which I'm all for, man. Demon Lord has been, I mean, it's old content.
That's the true power of friendship, folks. If you're the competitive sort who likes to pump out the biggest numbers, you can compete against other players in the rankings tab for additional rewards. As we get closer to this new type of coalition event, we'll reveal more details, so stay tuned. Moving on, we've got some quality of life changes that we hope you're going to be excited by. First up is the Live Arena Friendly Battles. This new feature lets you find friends and clanmates in Live Arena whenever you want. Here's how it works. In the Live Arena window, there'll be a new Friendly Battles tab. You can access it at any time, and you don't have to spend any resources to fight in friendly battle.
Dude, this is huge. I'm assuming it's going to only be like people in your clan, but still, you can go up against people in your clan and be like, oh, hey, this team will work better in Siege. This is huge for Siege and just more like communication and social engagement within your own clan. I wonder if people are going to be clan hopping just so they can be like, yeah, I beat you. Like if content creators and Raid, they're going to be like, this is my best arena team. You can't beat this. And then somebody else will come along and go like, yes, I can. Let's fight it out in the clan.
But you won't earn any rewards either. You can battle your clanmates via the clan tab. If you're looking to start a fight, in a good way, of course, then you can submit an application visible to all your clanmates who check out this tab.
Did y'all catch that there's not going to be any rewards? I don't like that. I feel like even if it's really small, either put a limit on the fights, make it like 10 a day, or make it unlimited, but have very small rewards, but just something like, even if it's just cosmetics, like you win 50 battles to get an avatar or something like that, like something cosmetic.
Someone accepts the challenge, you'll get a notification pop up as long as you're not in an ongoing battle. Accept it, and you can get down to business. If it's bragging rights over your friends you're after, don't worry, we've got you covered. Head to the Challengers tab and search for your friends by their username. Once your friend has added you too, you're good to send them a battle request directly, provided the other party is online and not otherwise engaged. You can only have a certain number of challengers though, so choose your rivals wisely. Once you and your friend have each other registered as challengers, you'll be able to send a direct live arena battle request at any time, provided you're both online, that is.
This could be really big, or it could be a wet fart. Like, there's no rewards to gain. So there's no like incentive to do it outside of the bragging rights that they're talking about. But also at the same time, I know how people are in the community and they put out a video about like this arena team is unbeatable. Somebody's going to want to make a video about, hey, I beat this arena team. They get into a back and forth on Discord or something and they can settle it in the arena. And that's pretty cool. It's going to be a very niche section of the community probably that makes use of this after the first month of it being out. But it's cool, man. I like it. I like it.
A feature that's been shaped by feedback from you guys is related to fusions. We're working on allowing you to change a current fusion champion with another champion that featured in a previous fusion or fragment event.
Okay. Now this I like. We have needed something like this for a while. Really from day one. There should have been something like this in the game from the start.
Break down how it will work. First, you'll need fusion tokens. You can earn one of these every time you complete a fusion without changing the champion out. Once you have fusion tokens, you can change out fusion champions for the ones you've missed previously.
So we got here. Change the fusion champion for a previous one, or fusion tokens by completing correct fusions. Okay, so you're going to have to do at least a couple of fusions to get enough tokens to do so. But it looks like in the tier 1 champions, like I guess that's top tier champions, they cost 3 tokens. So you'll need to do 3 fusions to unlock one of these. But you've got Titus, you can get Tormund, you can get Sir Nick, you can get Noel. Oh, cool, it's got check marks. So I'm assuming you can't get Dukes though. You get Emic, Yumikasa, Wixwell, Istrid, Brogni. Wow, that's an old one. Ancora, Armaz, Thor, Kropad, Mighty Uko. I didn't even realize he was a fusion. The Rat King, Pythion, Python, whatever. It looks like Fabian down here. That looks like the top of Fabian. You can get Stippy, or Rhodos. Newt, and that looks like it might be Helicath. I'm not certain. So these are going to be your tier 1 champions. But if you're like me and didn't realize the value of Titus, skipped out on this fusion, it's going to take you, what, 3 or 4 months to get those? Because we do 1 fusion. I'd say it probably averages about like 4 fusions every 3 months. Like every 3 weeks, it seems like we're starting a new fusion, or at least it feels that way. But the ones I'm going to go for, because I've already got most of these champions, I'm definitely going to go for the Rhodos. I don't have Stiffy either, but I'm going for Rhodos. I've already got 3 Newts, so I can't do that. I've got 2 Fabians. I don't have Helicath, but I'm not in a huge hurry to get Helicath. I would love to have Pythion for my Geox Wazarius team. I feel like if I had Pythion, it would bring together Donatello, Wazarius, Geox, Pythion, however you pronounce it. That's going to be a great team. And Yukamasa, I feel like he's a little bit slept on, especially for his faction. That'd be one to go for if you don't already have them. Noel and Sir Nick, obviously. But Titus is going to be my first one to go for, then Pythion, and then Rhodos. At least out of that squad. And I've already got pretty much all the other ones except for Helicath. And I don't have the Rat King, but I've got Cometus, so I'm not really worried about that. I don't have Emic, but not really worried about him. I feel like he's a little underwhelming for a Void Legendary. Now, Istrid would be one I would recommend going for. Maybe not before some of the others, but she'd be worth doing. Armand's, I feel like, pushed out of the meta a little bit now. He's still annoying, but Fabian is kind of like Armand's 2.0, or at least as far as the role he plays in the arena. Newt, if you don't have him, but I feel like with people like Wallmaster and Marius, Newt's being a little bit pushed. He's still great, but he's probably like in the top 5 max HP nukers. You're going to probably go Marius. Single target Newt over Wallmaster, but in Hydra, Wallmaster plus he self buffs and brings block buffs and decreased attack. And then I would say Newt in 3rd place.
Depending on the champion you want to change to, the cost will be different. There'll be
we got
3
tier 2
tiers based on a champion's strength, and changing to them will require.
Okay, so for tier 2, you got that Krozag or whatever, the bomb dude, Supreme Elhaim. I don't remember if that's Constantine or Vlad. I think it's Vlad. You've got that Halloween fusion that revolves around the number 3. You got Tholan, you got Esma, The Mad Hatter. Now, I feel like Mad Hatter's probably be in a tier 3, but I missed out on him, and maybe I'm just overhopping him in my head. You can get the Packmaster Shayak to pair with Crockhat if you don't have him. Razavard, good champion. You got Strategos, Oscelin, or whatever. You got Mother Sabel. Granted, Doorkeep's another one that I would recommend going for. A lot of people skipped out on him because he just seemed underwhelming, but then turned out to be pretty A tier. Not S tier, but like A tier. You got Stock the Broken here. That's one I'm definitely going to be going for. I've got Vizig and a Gizmak, and Stock the Broken would go perfectly. You might even be able to pull an arena team out of that. Stock, Gizmak, Bellatar, and Stock, Gizmak, Bellatar, and Vizig. Yeah. We got the Burna, we've got the Freezer, we've got Tatura, we got Molly. Molly's a good one. I'm not as crazy about a lot of these champions, but I would definitely say there's 4 or 5 of them there.
Either 1, 2, or 3 fusion tokens.
Now, we can't really make out any of these bottom tier here except for Brackus, but of course he would be in the bottom tier.
An ongoing fusion event will be required for this feature to be available. You also won't be able to change to a champion that you've already obtained during their original fusion. Fragment summon or via shards, and once you've changed once, that's it. You're committed. You can't change the champion again, so choose wisely.
I really like that. I feel like that's a pretty good way to go about it. Yeah, you're going to have to do a couple of fusions to get the tokens up, but then when a fusion comes around that you don't care for, even if it's a good fusion, it may not benefit your account directly, or at least not as much as some of these other fusions will. And the next fusion down the road, you can always go back to it. If there's another fusion that you think would benefit your account more, you can always go back to it in a few months and get it later. So I feel like this is a great way to implement catch-up fusions.
Here's some good news, though. If you changed the champion out but didn't complete the fusion for whatever reason, any fusion tokens you spent will be refunded. And last but not least, our final quality of life improvement for today concerns the Minotaur's Labyrinth. Right now, only 1 champion per battle receives Mastery Scrolls, and any surplus is lost if that champion is close to the scroll limit.
Yes, that's annoying. I don't encounter that very often, but it is annoying.
We're working on changing that so that surplus scrolls will go to a teammate with the highest number of equivalent scrolls instead. Keep in mind that this only works for champions who participate in the battle.
I gotta say, yeah, that's a great QOL update, but after all of these crazy big events and updates coming up, it feels a little like that could have just been a ninja update. You know, like that didn't have to be like promoted in the video. But whatever, that's cool.
Around and sipping on XP brews in the tavern won't cut the mustard. It's nearly time to draw a curtain on our 10th episode, but we...
Oh. I don't know who she is, but she looks sick.
You've just got enough time to up...
Oh, we got another Argonite. I don't know. He might be an epic. I'm thinking maybe not ally protection, but something like a Volgoth type champion for Boker.
And
oh, we're going to get a new Sylvan Watchers. He looks pretty cool. Definitely going to be a defense champion, but he looks cool.
Show off a quick glimpse.
Oh, is that supposed to be, yeah, Gil, so that's like merman. So the other lady was like merwoman, mermaid, and this is going to be a merman. You know, I'm going to say he's a support champion, probably going to be a debuff champion, put out like a decreased defense weekend or something along those lines, because I haven't really seen any other champions in the Argonaut faction that looks like they would really do that. But I feel like with that cool and intricate of a design, he's going to bring more than just better debuffs. He might even bring something unique to the table. But we're going to call him Legendary Magic.
That's some of our upcoming champions.
Well, what are we thinking? Orc or Ogre and Trop? Probably Ogre and Trop. But, dude, she's a gruesome champion. You got her eye blown out of her head. I don't even know if she has an eye or other socket, but she's crying like black tar. She's got like a skull bikini bra on, held up by chains and straps because of the monstrous weight. coming down on him. That's crazy. You got all these big tusk teeth. You got a broken door shield. So she's just taking it from another champion. You've got these skulls. And look how sharp her toenails are. She could like kick somebody and just rip them to shreds. Also, her weapon, I thought that was just like a cane or something, but no, that's an axe. That's a battle axe. It kind of blends in, but you can see the back end right there of it. And it could be used as a polearm spear. I'm normally not a super huge fan of the ogre and tribes, which I think that's going to be. But dude, she looks sick, man. And she got that cauldron in the background. So is she going to be like a shaman? And if she is a shaman, what would she be bringing to the table? I'm going to say poisons. But she could be a good champion to bring in like a new corrosive debuff, or like maybe a second champion to have infest, because right now it's just the xenomorph. I could see her bringing infest. Yeah.
Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as a parting gift, here's a little teaser of something coming in the spring. Until next time.
So, it's all coming in the spring. That would mean within the next couple of months, because it's March 1st right now. It's going to be a while. It's not going to be a while. It's going to be pretty soon. I would say within the next 2 months, we should receive all of that, because by that point, it'll be summer. Now, also, I have this PowerPoint that I've put together for us over some of the new updates more in depth, which includes fusions, champion buffs, stuff like that. And at the very end, dude, I finally got a glimpse into like the genuine mechanics of how hit mechanics work in Raid. So stay tuned for that. The first page, we got the Death Knot with his friendship rainbow. No, that is not a pride rainbow, it's for friendship. Imagine like in SpongeBob when he's like, imagination. Well, we got imagination friendship. Death Knot. Even there, he says that's the true power of friendship, folks. All right. This is going to be the new fusion. So, that one champion, it was the fusion. Okay. Can't believe I put this PowerPoint together. I didn't even realize that. I thought that was all gold. I didn't even notice. That's cool, man. It's like part of him is corrupted and part of him's pure. So, is he like a chaotic neutral champion? I like it. Let's get into his kit. The A1 Triumphant Blow attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance, hooks up to 100 to put a big boy decrease attack for 2 turns, and it cannot be resisted or blocked if the champion's under a burn. So he's probably going to bring a burn somewhere in his kit. The A2, Gorgo's Bane, attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense if it's under a burn. This damage inflicted by the skill increases by 10% for every turn remaining on any debuffs on this champion and the target, stacking up to 200%. Holy cow, that's going to nuke. It's only one hit and a single target, so Mercurial is automatically going to kind of put him in the dirt. But if you've already got that Mercurial stacks broke off, that will freaking nuke. And if the damage inflicted by this skill is less than 50% of the target's max HP, it steals all buffs from the target and places a stun on them for 2 turns. These effects cannot be resisted if the target's under a burn. So even if it like weak hits or something, you're going to strip all the buffs, so you're still getting some kind of utility out of it. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, which, you know, what do you expect? That seems to be about standard. Finally, you got the A3, Victor's Bounty, on the 4-turn cooldown, looking down to 3. It's got an active effect that it puts a 50% increased attack and a magma shield, which up until Solinar, none of the other champions brought a magma shield to the team. You can get it from relics, and he's giving it to everybody. Solinar just gives it to himself. And the value of the magma shield is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. And he is an HP nuker, so you're going to want him at least 100, 110k HP, and then you'll be getting out like a 30k shield, 40k shield. Also places a taunt on this champion for 2 turns, and then passively decreases the damage all allies receive by 20% while this champion is not under a decreased defense buff. Well, why would he be under a decreased defense buff to begin with? You don't even see that in the arena much anymore. And you can increase the shield by 20%. Now, what I've never been able to figure out is when it says shield 20%, does that mean it takes the 30% up to 40% like it would with like a buff placement percentage? Or is it 10% of the 30 making it go from 33, 36%? Because that dramatically changes the value of the books on this champion. Either way, being able to put out a magma shield is nice because that stacks on top of a normal shield. And then finally, for the passive, you have Master of Games. This champion is immune to stun, HP burn, and petrification debuffs. Well, that's cool. Not all CCs, but stun and petrification are very prominent in the arena. Between Wukong, you don't see Mythrala too much anymore, but our bias petrifies, and tons of champions stun nowadays. And looks like he'll help counter Gizmak because he can't place burns on him. Whenever this enemy attacks this champion, has a 100% chance of placing an HP burn on that enemy for 2 turns. So whenever he gets attacked, it's guaranteed to put a burn out on that champion. The chance decreases to 50% if this champion is under a decreased defense debuff. Why they got this decreased defense stuff in his kit, I don't really understand because you don't see that very often. Unless they're doing it so that there's a way to hard counter him. Do they really think he's that good that they have to put a hard counter into his kit? Occurs once per enemy skill. Whenever an enemy attacks the champion, also has a 50% chance of placing petrification debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. That's pretty crazy. That's a really high percentage. And it decreases to 25% if the champion's under a decreased defense. So, if you're going to fight this guy, you definitely want to bring decreased defense. And then his aura increased ally resistance by 60 in all battles. So what I'm thinking, he's only got 2 hits, and each one is a single target, single hit. But Mercurial is going to hard counter him. Stone Skin, maybe, maybe not, because he's putting out burns, and the burns can burn off the Stone Skin. And if he doesn't hit more than half of their health, which he won't through Stone Skin, you have the chance to steal the Stone Skin on that 50-50 passive in the on the Stone Skin like artifact set. Also, if it's like a champion that brings Stone Skin, like our bias, you don't have that 50-50. It can just be stolen like any other buff, and then he could receive that Stone Skin. Also, if he strips the Stone Skin off or weak hits, he's going to put a stun on them, and it can't be resisted if they're under a buddy. So you're going to want to build him in a go second, definitely. I haven't decided if he'd be better at Mercurial or Stone Skin, though. He's bringing an increased attack, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he's an HP champion, but I guess it's because he's not meant to be your main nuker. He's meant to be like a debuffer that stands there and takes hits and then helps shield your team. Because he's also placing a taunt, which means anyone who attacks him, between the 100% chance on the burn and 50% on the petrification, cut him in half if you can place a decreased defense on him. He's going to be burning and petrifying a lot of people. I'm definitely going for him. I'm a little mixed on how good I think he's going to be. As usual with nukers, it's going to depend on the multipliers. And he's also bringing decreased attack on his A1. So it's going to cut people's attack. Now, enter the champion buffs. We have Harvest Jack and Lucan the Steadfast. We'll get into Harvest Jack first. Originally, his A1 was a triple hitter. Each hit had a 25% chance of stealing 1 buff from the target. Each hit also had a 25% chance of placing a standard fearful 1 turn if the target had no buff. So if you stole all their buffs that 3rd hit, or like say if they had 2 buffs, the first 2 hits, you got lucky, it stole both buffs. On that 3rd hit, you could place a fear, or if they have no buffs, you got a 75% chance to place a fear. And it makes it guaranteed if all buffs are stolen from the target. So if they only had one buff or two buffs, I guess, and you happen to steal them, it guarantees the fear. Now it's a triple hitter. Each hit has a 50% chance of stealing a random buff from the target. Each hit also has a 50% chance of placing a fear. And if the target has no active buffs, so even if you don't steal them, if, like, say, if they don't have any buffs to be sold, you're guaranteed to put a fear on them. And where it's a triple hitter, you could use that to counter material pretty easily. His A2 was attack all enemy, block buff for 2 turns on targets under fear. Removes any increased attack from the target, replaces them with a decreased attack, and removes any continuous heals or replaces it with a poison. The number of poisons is equal to the number of continuous heal buffs removed. Now, it's an AoE, removes all buffs from each target full strip. Then puts a 50% decreased attack and a block buff on all enemies for 2 turns. Then grants an extra turn on a 4-turn cooldown. So effectively, it's a 3-turn cooldown instead of it used to be a 4-turn. So that's a pretty good buff to the skill. The A3, it used to attack all enemies with a 75% chance of putting a true fear on them for 1 turn. It also put a 30% decreased speed for 2 turns and decreased each target's storm meter by 15% if the true fear was placed. Also has a 75% chance of placing a sleep for 1 turn if the true fear is not placed. I would almost rather the sleep be placed, because as long as you don't attack that champion, at least they're guaranteed to miss the turn, where true fear is 50-50. But on the other hand, true fear, if it does go off, their cooldown still gets reset even when they don't get that skill. Now, it attacks all enemies, 75% chance of placing true fear for 2 turns, not 1. Then puts the decreased speed for 2 turns and decreases each target's storm meter by 30% instead of 15 if the true fear is placed. Also, a 75% chance of placing an unresistible sleep debuff for 1 turn if the true fear is not placed. Unresistible is added. Also decreases the target's storm meter by 30%. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, though. So it's a pretty decent skill. I don't think he's going to be meta. I know he's not going to be meta, but it'd definitely make him usable. Used to the passive, whenever attack, decrease the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn, which is a pretty good passive. Now, whenever an ally is attacked, has a 50% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn. Whenever this champion is attacked, 100%. And this champion is also immune to fear. And then finally, on the aura, they gave him an aura and used it in Avalon. Increased ally accuracy in all battles by 70%. So I would give that a solid buff. Nothing too crazy. I would say it brought him from, let's call him a 4 out of 10 legendary up to about a 7 out of 10 legendary. Like, just a little bit above average. Maybe not even above average. It just brings him in line. But he'll be a good control champion. He's putting out fear, true fear, sleep, and he's stripping buffs passively whenever someone attacks anybody on your team. That's not nothing. Now let's move on to Lugan Steadfast. I'm a little more interested in this guy because he was already halfway decent and he just wasn't nothing crazy. He was very like middle of the pack. So buffing him should make him decent. Before, you have to have it ascended, but attacks 1 enemy, heals all allies by 1/4 of the damage inflicted. Puts a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of their max HP for 2 turns. So great against the Scarab King. Now, attacks 1 enemy, heals all allies by 1/4 of the damage inflicted, has a 50-50 chance of placing a stun. That's a great addition. And when counterattacking, it will also ignore 20% of the target's defense, and the damage multiplier is being increased. It's a pretty good A1. The 50-50 stun is great. Now, the A2 used to place 60% increased defense on the champion for 3 turns, and a 50% ally protection on everyone for 2 turns. Now, 60% increased defense, a 50% ally protection, and a shield buff equal to 30% of the champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. So it looks like they took the increased defense from 3 turns down to 2, but instead of it only being for himself, it's on everybody. and the ally protection stayed the same, but they added a shield buff equal to a third of the champion's max HP. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. I feel like that really should be a 3-turn cooldown skill, but that's a huge increase. And you see on the flip side, you see this guy in tons of PvE maps like Cursed City, Doom Tower, places like that. So they're gonna have to watch out for him a little bit there. He's gonna make the enemies way harder to take down. And then finally, the A3. It used to be an attack all enemy, 80% chance of putting a block act skill keep up out for 2 turns. Now it attacks all enemies, 80% of decrease in the duration of all buffs by 2 turns, also has an 80% chance of placing a block active skill. So now you can strip the enemy team of their buffs and block their skills, and it will ignore a quarter of each target's defense if this champion is under its shield debuff. And the damage multiplier has been increased. And instead of it being on a 4-turn cooldown, now it's a 3-turn cooldown. That's a pretty potent skill. Full strip and block active skills. That's what Cometus has on his A2. And that's a mythical. And Cometus doesn't ignore a quarter of their defense, which he does other stuff. But still, like, that's a very strong skill, especially if the damage multiplier got increased to anything substantial. Finally, he has a passive. Whenever an enemy attacks an ally under a shield, counterattacks with this champion's default skill with that 50-50 stun. The damage inflicted by this champion increases by 10% per active buff on allies played by this champion. So if he's bringing increased defense, ally protection, and a shield, that's 3 times 4 is 12. That could be up to 120% damage increase on the A1 that ignores 20% of their defense and could stun them. And it's going to heal all allies by a quarter of the damage inflicted. So that's little passive heals going off left and right. I'm pretty impressed at that. That's going to be, I would say, taking him from a 6 out of 10 champion up to maybe an 8 out of 10. That definitely is going to bring him from, if you want to put a letter on it, from like a C+ to like an A-. Maybe even a solid A. We'll have to see the damage multipliers. And if they give him crazy multipliers, he might be on the upward in sub A. Now, to what I feel like is one of the most interesting pieces of info I've gotten in Raid, especially for people that don't really know the way the numbers work for weak, critical, strong, and normal hits. Hit Mechanics 101. Below, you'll find a detailed explanation of how the game calculates weak, normal, critical, and strong hits. The hit priority. All possible hit tops are calculated once, meaning we always work with a total of 100%, from which all other values are taken. Normal hits are the baseline. They would have a 100% chance of occurring if no other variables applied. But this is where the following hit priority come into play. Weak hits, critical hits, strong hits, normal hits. Hits of a higher priority will always take up their allotted chance from the whole. That means weak hits always happen 35% of the time when attacking in an affinity disadvantage. Critical hits are the next priority. So if a champion's crit rate stat is at 50%, the following chances to apply 35% weak hit, 15% chance critical hit, because you would subtract the 35% weak hit from the 50% crit rate. So if you're going up against a bad affinity, say you're Force going up against Magic, and you have a 100% crit rate, you really only have a 65% crit rate. That's basically what that means. And a 50% normal hit. The game makes a roll, and the hit type is determined by the result according to those percentages. So if you're going up against somebody that has a strong affinity to you, in order to have a 100% crit rate, you would really need a 135% crit rate. That's long story short with that. Keep in mind that lower priority hits will never activate if their chance is below that of a higher priority hit. So if a champion has an affinity disadvantage against the target champion and crit rate below 36%, a critical hit can never occur. Here are the baseline chances. Normal hit, 100% before higher priority hits. Chances take up on their portion of that chance. Strong hits, 50% with an affinity advantage. Critical hit, determined by the champion's crit rate stat, plus 15% with an affinity advantage. So if you're strong affinity, 85% crit rate would really act as 100% crit rate. And weak hits are, as we've said, 35% with an affinity disadvantage. Over here, we have a graph of how that would work. If you're weak affinity to somebody, you subtract 35 from that 100%, and that gives you a 65% chance of weak hitting. Strong hit, can't do it. And critical hit, you would add 15% to it. A little bit more detail. Affinity disadvantage. Hit damage is reduced by 20%, a 35% chance of getting a weak hit, which is minus 30% damage. So weak hits, you lose 30% of the damage you would hit on a normal hit. Normal affinity, like if you're spirit against spirit, you have no penalties or advantages, 0% strong hit chance, 0% weak hit chance, so you're just going to do normal damage. And your crit rate would stack on top of that. So if you're neutral and you have 100% crit rate, you're going to crit 100% of the time, and you would get that excess damage of whatever your crit damage multiplier would add up to. Now, if you're an affinity advantage, you have an extra 15% chance of a skill landing as a critical hit, like we'd spoken. 85, if you're at an advantage, would really be 100. And a 50% chance of a skill landing as a strong hit, dealing 30% more damage. And that multiplier goes in with the crit damage. So it would be whatever the crit damage would make your hit, plus 30% of that is how a strong hit would work. Now, on a weak hit, you lose 30% of your damage and cannot activate skill-based debuffs. So if you're a spirit affinity going against a magic and you're trying to put out a decreased defense, you're going to lose 30% of the damage from the attack, and you can't land your debuff unless it's specified in the kit. That's different, which some champions do have. Now, on normal hits, no penalty or advantages when placing debuffs, and then a strong hit, just your standard 30% damage. Over here is a graph that explains that. You can see 100% hits, you get 100% of normal damage, then 50% of that from it being strong if you get a strong hit, which you have a 50% chance of doing. So that would be 130% damage. And then if you land the critical hit, you're going to add that critical damage. Say if you got 300 crit damage, you would really be dealing 300 plus 130. So you would really be doing 430% of what you would do on a normal hit. That's how the math would work out on that. And on a weak hit, you would be subtracting 35%. So you would only, 30%. So you would standard only be doing 70% of the damage that you would on a normal hit. And you can't place the debuffs. That's pretty much the end of my PowerPoint and my weekly raid recap of the first week of March. We have a lot coming into the game in the near future. I would assume in the next 2 months. That new Clanbots coalition, I am super excited about. It'll be probably 4 or 5 months before we actually get to make use of the fusion recaps, because you're going to have to do a few fusions to get the tokens. But I think that is an amazing addition. The Harvest Jack buff, I think, is okay. Going to make him a pretty decent champion, but nothing you're going to see in the arena. You'll use him in like Doom Tower, Cursed City, places that you can only use specific champions. Now, Lugan Steadfast, I feel like that you may see him in the arena some, not like in the meta in-game arena, but probably in the early and late mid-game arena, you could probably get away with it. And I feel like he's going to be great for team survivability and getting through wave content. So they made him go from being like I said, like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 to like probably an 8 out of 10 champion. Harvest Jack, I'm still sticking with like 6.57 out of 10 champion. And the Minotaur update, that's cool, but take it or leave it, because it's only going to save you like 1 run out of a whole like 1,000 energy to get a full master champion out. That's about it. Y'all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Now, we are going to be getting into actual raid gameplay now. Let's see what we still have to do before the day resets. Carson City reset today, so definitely go in and take care of that. Let's just run Garrel, because she can solo this and it'd probably be quicker than running anybody else. And then we got to get into Arena. Speaking of which, Lava Arena should be starting pretty soon, but also there's an Arena competition going on. Yeah, Wallmaster can solo that pretty quickly. Set my chat up where I can see it, get everything set up. We got lucky on them ancient shards. We only ran like 20, 30 battles, and we got 2 ancients out of that. Wow. Lame. One thing about starting these new accounts, I forget what a lot of these rares do because I haven't used them in years. A guaranteed stun and still Storm Eater if the target ain't stunned. That's not horrible. Decreased defense on an AoE and a decreased speed. It's all little versions, but not a bad rare. Don't look here. I wonder what other people's thinking of the fusion. I would assume most people would go for him. If nothing else, because he's part of a new faction. I don't think we're going to be able to kill him with this team setup. We'll come back to that one. Not to mention that's my free to play. Well, one of my free to plays, and it's not the most built out. I'll admit it. Let's see if we can pull out Dark Fae on this account. I would love to grind out some of that lethal here. Not sure why I had all them level 40 champions on this. We'll take them remnant tokens. We really need a turn meter filler to run. Maybe we bring in Doom Screech on this. I don't know. It looks at it. Yeah, look at it. We'll get it. I was a little hesitant of that this team could do Dark Fae yet. This account's only like a month old. Oh yeah. We need to go in and actually program or tag arena themes so we could get a better win rate. I gotta go grab water. I'll be right back. Are there more videos like videos? Really fast. Friday plot. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about all that. Had to tell the wife to make me some dinner. Double Eric. That's interesting. Let's set our teams up. So for King 1, we can leave our bias in. We've got her at a decent speed. Let's throw... We've got our bias for buff stripping, revival and death, blah, blah, blah. We'll put Geralt on a different team. What about... Embers would be good here. Or we could do Torment and Hilby. Yeah, let's do Torment and Hilby here. Where is Swatorgan? There we go. And for the start of the fight, let's open with the buff. Do we want to open with buff strip or bob on death? Or do we open with the increased attack accuracy turn meter? Let's do the turn meter. And then we'll go into Verdant Rebirth. Then we'll do the A2 and go into Roar the Mistwood for the Stone Skin and Taunt. Yeah, that'll work for her. Siegfried. Let's open with Seraphic Wave. That way, if they have Stone Skin, we're not wasting our A3. Hilby can open with the A2 and then go into her block damage increase speed. Tormin can just do Tormin, but I don't really care about the A2 on him, so we'll turn that off. I think our Teox team is pretty good in and of itself. I don't think our demon spawn is good enough to run just it itself, so we'll put Noel and Sir Nick in there. And I want to put Noel in first place. Wherever she may be. Where is Noel? There she is. Noel can open with that, with her A3 to freeze everybody. Then Sir Nick can open with Goodwill. Cometus, go into his second form, do the bombs. Yeah, that's good. We will open with Flaming Terror on Volcanos. That way we can keep the A3 open a little bit longer. Let's make sure that we have everything set up on Gizmak here. I believe so. The only thing I want to change is to make him open with the buff and then burn off the stone skin, then metamorph and go into the A2. How blacks doesn't matter. Teox opens with this A3. That's cool. Okay. See how this plays out now. We're turning in. 17 turn, but it wins. 10 turn win. Okay. What's our player power for this team? 2.7 mil. Yeah, we ought to win. Let's make sure our champions are geared properly. Sir Nick needs a match 3. He already brings shield, so we don't really need that. I guess kill streak will be where we go with him. Does he brings a counter attack, right? Yeah, he does. Okay, we'll do methodical as well because he's going to be counter attacking with this A1 a bunch. Go ahead and take these up to 16. HP glyph will be okay, but I don't really think we need to put any into attack, or I think I know we don't. I hope when we do our faction wars, we get some more glyphs today. And keep in mind, these are all relatively new builds that I haven't had enough time to grind out the glyphs for. We're going to get an energy pack, though, tonight and grind out the ascension so we can ascend all of our gear. I think that's about all we can get with glyphs at the moment on him. Now, Noelle is pretty slow at 294. That's not very fast. But she is got stone skin. How many piece stone skin? 6-piece stone skin. And we've got impulse. And she's almost 90k on the HP and almost 5k on the defense. 416 accuracy is not horrible, it's not great, and 310 on the systems. But we can get considerably more points through glyphs and ascensions with her. We give her any more HP. Not without using 5 and 6-star glyphs. I don't care to use the 5-star, but the 6-star, I don't, unless it's like triple roll or something, I don't really want to use it on. And I wish we had a speed glyph to get her over that 300 hump. Okay. Probably about as good as we're going to get on her. By the way, guys, we got super lucky with relics last night. How do we get rarity? We was able to pull 2 aspects of Serath, and we also got a Spore Bust Rod. Which, the Spore Bust Rod, the effect isn't really what I'm crazy about with it, but having accuracy as the main stat, and it goes up dramatically as you level it up is really nice. And having up to a 35% chance of placing a second bomb, we may throw that on Cometus. And Aspect Serath, I'm not even a huge fan of it, or at least of its stats. But when a rare receives fatal damage, reduces it by 50% of their turn meter, and then fully reduces their cooldown. Reduces their turn meter cooldown 1 turn. So every other turn, they can activate this. And the damage reduction goes up by 50%. So does that mean... Yeah, it's going to cut the damage in half. I believe that's what that would equate to. Okay. Let's make sure Tormund's not missing anything, and then we'll get back into it. Not a big fan of this build. I mean, 5k defense isn't bad, but the crit damage needs to go up. The speed, we don't really care about because he's with Hilby and is going to be getting a bunch of counterattacks and whatnot. Oh, that sucked. for oil and HP, but it's only a flat stat. Got plenty of resistance glyphs, that's for sure. Yeah, we need glyphs. I wish they would sell more glyph packs. Like, I don't even know if I've ever seen a glyph pack. That would be a good one for Sir Nick, but we need him in protection here. Well, without going into the optimizer, that's probably about as good as we're going to get on him. Now, she's just flat out missing gear. We need to put a helmet and a weapon on her. That could be decent. HP, speed, and accuracy. Not going to argue with that. Not a fan of that one for her. Not a fan of that one. We're wanting accuracy and speed. Can we get speed as a highlight? HP and speed. Accuracy as a highlight. Okay. We don't really care about the crit rate on it, but the 437 accuracy, it's not great, but not bad either. One, the submission because she puts out a bunch of debuffs, obviously. Isn't all of her percentages 100%? Well, not on the A1, but extend her increased speeds. Now I'll take that. Put out a leech on everybody. Okay. And we're running a level 15 wand of submission on her. So that's fine. Our bias, we got her at 378, so almost 400. But I'm fine with that. We need to look at Volcanos and then we're ready. Oh, we're missing a gauntlet. I'm glad I looked into him. We need Stone Skin Gauntlet. And I'm looking for a crit damage. Or crit rate. Yeah. What? So we got right at 70k on the HP, right at 6k on the defense. Pretty bad crit damage and mid-tier resistance and accuracy. So there's a lot of room for improvement on this build. I gotta go season my meat 1 second. Get that bag shit. Oh. Uh, Alrighty. Now I'm back. There should be no more interruptions. Sorry about that. Definitely a less than stellar build for Volcanos. I feel like I'm really missing out on this potential. We're going to see how this performs in real time so that if there's an issue, I can see it. Get out of here, Death Knob. Damn, Sir Nick. Okay. And now for the last two. We go and get Pantheon out of here. Yes, can. All right. And we're right through her snow skin. We got this fight won anyways, but we don't want to let Mezamel get a turn. I think we are going to come back after I eat. And when live arenas.